I want to give people some warning signs, because I couldn't tell you 15 different MLMs off the top of my head. I could tell you a couple, but like, you're always going to encounter these in the wild typically. And
Yeah.
if it's a name you've never heard of and you don't know much about it, like, what are we looking for when we're looking for MLMs? How do we know what we're looking at as an MLM and not like a legitimate business model? Can you give us some pointers?
Yeah, so I actually think that Jaime kind of described a lot of good red flags. So he was talking about when he went and talked to this girl's dad, that he had all these pictures of people with fancy cars and with fur coats and everything. When a lot of times when distributors attempt to pitch their schemes, they will show you the very rare successful person. And they'll explain how, oh, this person, they've been doing Young Living or Amway for, a year, and look how much money they've already made. They have these, fancy cars. They have this huge mansion. This is what you could have if you join this company. So there's a lot of basically trying to convince you that you can get rich with this. So if they keep talking about the things that you can get instead of telling you what you actually are doing or what you actually are selling, then it's probably an MLM.
Yeah, I've noticed that too in the MLMs that tried to recruit me. In my experience, they don't talk a lot about the product itself so much.
Yeah.
It's
Because it's
always,
not about the product.
yeah,
It's
it's about
about recruiting.
yeah, like one of the websites, like I was trying to get information on this company and I was looking at the website and I was like, I don't even know what these people sell. Like, all they're
Yeah.
talking about is their team and how cool they are. And here's a personal bio, and they want to retire doing this. And here's some pictures from our conference and stuff. It's like, I don't know what the product is. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
they're not upfront about the product or what you're actually selling or what you're actually doing, that's probably a red flag
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what else could we, because, there are legitimate sales positions in this country for different companies, right? Sales is a thing that happens that you can be salaried for, or even get just commission based pay for, and still be a part of what most people would call a legitimate business. So, like, what's the difference there? How do we know that what we're doing is just another sales job?
So I mean, a quick Google search a lot of the times will
Mm,
do it. There's also a MLM master list. I can't remember what website it's on, but I'll try
mm.
to figure that out later and maybe send you guys that so we
Yeah.
can direct people towards that. But yeah, there's like a master list. I think it's either Americans Against MLMs or another organization that compiles these things so that if you are presented with an opportunity, you can go to this list and see whether or not this is an MLM. But yeah, because I remember you telling me about that one job offer, and like I
Mhm.
was actually trying to figure out whether or not it was an MLM because I had never heard of it,
Yeah.
and it seemed really unclear. I was like, this could be legitimate, but it seems really like scammy, and they're not really telling you how much you're going to be making or what you're actually doing. So if it's very vague, if they're very vague about it, that's usually a red flag.
Yeah, like a company should not be too hesitant to tell you how much you're going to make with the
Yeah,
position. They may give you a range, but they're usually going to be upfront about how that actually works. And if it's not a typical like paid every 2 weeks gig or something, you should at least be on the lookout. Obviously, not every job is going to work like that, but um, the ones that aren't working like that, like a good chunk of the time are not jobs you want to be taking, right?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so let's say like, okay, you're looking at a website, you're seeing some stuff. Maybe they talk about the product. And it looks like people are having fun. Maybe somebody wants you to go to a recruitment event for it. What would you say then? Would you say that you'd want to go just to make him feel better? Would you just say no right then and there? Like what's proper etiquette? Like, and let's say, obviously this, most of the time this is going to be people that like
Yeah.
at what point do you humor people versus at what point is it good to just not even, be complicit at all?
I would definitely suggest people actually do not go to these recruitment seminars or these conferences because even if you're like, for sure, oh, I'm not going to join this MLM, I'm not going to get involved with this. a lot of the speakers at these conferences have a way of sucking you in. They have a way of making you feel like, oh, maybe this is like there is potential here, just because it's kind of like they almost talk like pastors, in my opinion. A lot of like conferences, clips from conferences that I've watched, they sound a lot like pastors. And so they have a way of making you feel comfortable and feel like this is a good idea. So I actually suggest people do not go to conferences or seminars. It's generally not a good idea. I know that a lot of people want to be supportive to their friends, but yeah.
And you don't want to appear like you're not open-minded either. I imagine they guilt you on that too, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of guilt there. If you are someone that's very much a staunch anti-MLMer, there is a lot of guilt and people accuse you of not being open-minded. But the thing is, we have facts and figures on our side for why we take the stance we do, and the MLM community does not. So yeah, you do want to be a little open-minded, but you also do want to side with the evidence. And the evidence shows that these are not good.
Yeah. So on a personal note, I'm wondering, since you've started talking about this stuff and your channel's gotten a little bit of traction, have you received any messages and people defending this stuff? What's
I actually haven't that much. I was really, really surprised. I think it's because my channel is in this weird like space in YouTube where I'm really like the bridge between the anti-MLM community and the atheist community. So I have a lot of atheist viewers, which is awesome. And I really love that because I think that being anti-MLM is just kind of skepticism applied. But I haven't gotten a lot of people defending it. I've had a few comments, and usually they're like these long, like 300-word essays. But I haven't had a lot of that yet. But I suspect and hopefully my channel keeps growing, I'm probably going to get more of that.
Well, there you go. You heard it here, folks. Taylor does read her YouTube comments.
I do. I actually read all of them.
Yeah. So yeah, like I wonder that for myself too, because like I get stuff every once in a while from people pushing back on stuff I've said on this show, but not too much. But like the MLM community, I guess, I don't know. I guess the people that are really supportive of it, they're not looking at the anti stuff as much, I guess, right? That's my assumption.
They don't as much. I have a lot of like friends who are anti-MLM YouTubers, and they get a lot more than me, but they tend to kind of take on actual distributors, like because a lot of distributors will have like Instagram pages or Facebook pages for their business, and they'll post a lot of things on there. And so other anti-MLMers will kind of like react to like specific distributors, which I tend not to do. I like to do kind of more general, like bigger topics. So they'll get more of that. They'll get more people attacking them because of that. But usually the attacks are just, oh, well, you must have failed in MLM. That's the only reason why you're bitter now. Is because
you must not have been a real Christian because you left
exactly
the church and you never had the Holy Spirit. Like we can make these comparisons all day.
There's so many comparisons.
It's all there. Well, I got one more question for you tonight, Taylor, before we wrap things up. And I want to know, people who are listening, maybe some people are hearing this for the first time, or maybe some people have heard about this, but they didn't know the extent of it. And maybe some people are interested in, talking more about this, anti-MLM conversations. What do you suggest people do as a form of activism? How do people get the word out about this?
I would say definitely just getting involved with anti-MLM YouTube. It's a growing community. There's also tons of different Facebook groups that you can get plugged into, whether or not you've been in MLM before or just very anti-MLM. You can get in these groups with people that are like-minded and that are supportive of you. So like that's a great way to do it.
Great.